Okay, we are ready. So, welcome everyone back to Survivor Now podcast. And I am here with another Survivor UK person, and it is the lovely Ashleigh Bishop, our ninth runner up, I will say. We know you came 10th, but you're the ninth runner up.
Indeed.
Yeah, so how are you?
I'm good. What a weekend. It's been very entertaining.
I was going to say it's been a bit of a weekend for you. So kind of the first question is, how are you feeling after kind of this weekend and seeing, your main vote off, but also just the weekend in general, because you had two very spicy tribals.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? It's made good TV. Let's say that. It's been very entertaining.
Yeah. Well, before I get into we deep dive, let's go back to kind of that round and get kind of those stuff out of the way. How were you feeling during kind of the round that you were kind of going and the discussions that were had? Because from what we saw, there was a lot of uncertainty with you and kind of Christopher there.
In what sense? Sorry.
So obviously when we were watching the episode, we saw that you and Christopher were very uncertain on what was going on. You were having conversations, but you kind of almost felt like there was a bit of a gut feeling something wasn't right.
Yeah, it's generally in Survivor, if no one's talking to you and giving you a name, it's probably your name on everyone else's lips. So I think that gave the game away a touch.
Yeah. Well, did you and Christopher kind of discuss a plan? Because obviously you guys had the idol, Christopher had the extra vote. Was that an option? Did you think maybe you guys can use those?
Yeah, we thought about it. I mean, it was pretty clear when no one was talking. We were like, there's a really solid chance that it's going to be between the two of us, which I mean, I'll be honest, like I felt very, very confident that was what was happening. And we did think about a number of different ways that we could try and obviously prevent that from happening. Unfortunately, it just didn't come to fruition. I mean, we wanted to try and reignite that Lenana majority, which could have been great, could have protected both of us moving forward. But unfortunately, I think the position that we were in, and with everything that a certain someone had thrown up the night before, we really were on the chopping block. And I think that not only that, Chris was already at risk because people knew he had an advantage. So I knew he was going to be at risk. And probably there's a part of me as well that didn't want to throw him under the bus because of everything we'd been through together and, just protect myself at that point. So, yeah, I was pretty sure I was going to be going home.
Well, we will get more into it, but I kind of want to take us back a bit because, you played, I think it was 21 days. Yes. So before we start anything, I want to know, how much did you know about Survivor before applying? Because we've seen some people didn't really have an idea. We have obviously our super fans in like Ren and Shy. Where do you fall?
Look, I am not a Survivor expert by any means. And I knew about the show. I'd heard of it. And I just think for me, I'm not the kind of person that goes into anything without doing some preparation. Yeah. So I had watched some of it. I had given myself enough to feel that I had enough of a grasp to be able to at least go in and not be completely, going into the blind. But I'm no expert at all.
No, that's what you did. You knew what you needed to do, though. You needed to get the kind of background knowledge in there. Well, I know on the show you're a brand strategist.
Yes.
Obviously, strategy is a very big part of Survivor. Did that kind of having that knowledge, do you think that helped you going into the show?
Well, I mean, I went in with the idea that having any strict strategy was probably the worst strategy of all. So I thought, the minute you go in and you're trying to control the game, you have a really specific game plan. I think that's how you can really find yourself falling over. So I wanted to take a back seat, try and sort of almost steer from the bottom, where I was trying to get to know people, not be a threat in lots of ways, and also try and avoid having a target on my back. However, the minute I got in, I immediately got injured, got a target on my back. I thought, right, I'm gonna have to flip reverse everything and re-strategize the whole thing.
Yeah. So, well, that is one of the questions I have got here, because obviously the first challenge, which, by the way, you bossed. You were one of the, you bossed it. How long did it take for the injury to heal on your hand?
Honestly, it probably took about 10 days before it was it was really bad. I mean, there's no pictures of it because people said, oh, why is there no pictures? I'm like, we didn't have phones, so literally can't see. But it unfortunately, what happened was on the rings, and you can see this on it, the grip tape on my ring completely came off, leaving this like unsanded wood underneath, and it ripped basically all of the skin off my hand. And I was told to be very, very careful. So it put a target on my back, and it was also frustrating because I was there to participate. I was there to do some of these physical challenges that I'm looking forward to, and having shown that I could do that, to then be told that I was weak and to be targeted, not being able to, I felt this was very confusing. So.
Well, that was leading into my next question, which was, obviously we have some tribe members and we've had this kind of thing that you've been perceived as weak in the challenges, that you're a challenge liability. Me personally, I saw you boss those challenges. I mean, especially the merge ones, you were holding your own there. But did you, overall, of course, did you enjoy the challenges? And was there a particular one that was your favorite?
Look, I loved the challenges. I absolutely loved them. I went in there with the understanding that, the physical element was going to be a big part of it. And, I love to push myself. Yeah. It's part of why you go for something like Survivor, I think, because you enjoy being challenged. So, probably weirdly, my favorite was actually, the very last one, because I am
the last gasp.
Literally that. I don't know why I'm giving a thumbs up. Hello. Not great in water, and I'm really claustrophobic. So for me, that was my pure hell. And I remember Joel saying, if you're claustrophobic and you don't like water, you're not going to like this one. I was like, well, great, thanks, Joel. Rub it in. Able to stay under for as long as I did. And I didn't even know, because you can't hear anything. So when I came out of the water, I thought I was first or second. So to see that I'd managed to go as far as I did, I was really proud of myself. So that, even going out on that, I felt happy with that.
Well, yeah, because I think you came about 5th in that one. I have it on my notes somewhere. But literally, kudos to you, because, again, being a Survivor fan, people going out there, some people don't realise how intense these challenges are and how taxing it is, bearing in mind you've got minimal food, you're rarely sleeping. So to be able to do that, props to you.
Yes, very challenging.
Yes. So you kind of also mentioned this, you became a target, and I feel like I've mentioned so many times on the Survivor Now podcast that Shai seemed like the universal target. However, you were very much the target on Lenena. I do believe every single tribal council you went to, you received at least 2 votes. What constantly do you have any ideas of what constantly made you a target, and kind of talk me through why that was that you always were fighting? Because you even said you were kind of wanting to fight from the bottom, and you kind of did.
Yeah, no, I really did. I didn't quite mean it like that, but I really, really did. That's not quite what I had in mind. But yeah, I genuinely think that the first thing that happened was obviously the injury put an immediate target on your back, which was a real shame, because in this game, no matter who you are, everyone is looking for even the tiniest little thing that they can to have an excuse to vote you out. So that definitely set me off on a bad foot. And then, because instead of being able to be a bit of a, kind of be able to take a bit of a step back and almost go unnoticed, suddenly I was noticed, which meant my entire game plan had to completely change, and I had to be much more proactively playing, which had never been the plan from the beginning. So that obviously really changed things. Then that proactive gameplay, of course, then makes you a target again.
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I was so much expecting my name to come up each time that I was just like, oh, okay, oh, there we go. Oh, there she is.
There it is.
I would have been more surprised if my name hadn't come up by the end of it.
I mean, that would have been, yeah. Just quickly going back to the challenges, because I feel like this kind of encompasses as well maybe why a target was coming up. Obviously, there was a time where obviously Christopher came to you with a plan to throw the immunity, and I'm seeing this face already. With obviously the intention was to vote out one of the OG Calaton. Were you fully on board with the strategy when he came to you? Because obviously you spoke about deciding at the challenge.
Yeah, it was really difficult because it was very last minute. It was a very last minute suggestion, which we just did not have time to really consider or to properly execute. So as much as I could fully understand Chris's logic, and I actually think he was probably right in wanting to do that, doing that effectively, you've got to have people on board. Everyone has to be pulling in the same direction, and that wasn't possible. So, you know, that was a scramble in my head because I want to support Chris. We had such a good relationship, and I could completely understand why he wanted to do that, but I couldn't be on board fully supporting him because we just didn't have the buy-in and we didn't have the plan together. And then, you know, running, you know, goggles, you know, the cartwheeling. I mean, like I said, fantastic TV, and you know, he is a born entertainer. But you know, the plan just was going to be incredibly difficult to make that happen at that point.
Yeah. So needless to say, you were not you didn't even try throwing it. But yeah, we saw the entertainment factor in Christopher there. Speaking of Christopher, you guys really did have a close bond, and I feel like we kind of started to see that fairly early on, but I feel like there was other people we saw first. But your bond with Christopher, where did that start from? And kind of obviously we saw you become, may I say, Barbie and Ken. I may. What were the details there? Like how? Just how?
I mean, I think it started when we jumped off the boat together and we were pushing the raft, and he turned to me and he goes, "This is really heavy." And I turned back and I was like, "Yeah, no." Yeah, it is. And I think after that we were both like, okay, we're going to have to step up. And from the very beginning, he was just, I could sense in Chris someone who was very real and kind and genuine, and also there for the same game playing reasons as I was. And we just hit it off. And, you know, regardless of whatever happens on the show, separating person and player, separating, you know, truth from lies, like that friendship was really real. And it wouldn't have been the same for me without him there.
No, that's very fair. Well, because that's the thing. We definitely saw you guys kind of come together, especially after kind of the Chris and Lee argument. It really seemed like you had Chris's back, and obviously, I think the first two merged kind of episodes, we saw you two. You were the power couple. Another friendship we kind of want to talk about is Rach, because we really did see you and Rach bond very early on, and obviously, unfortunately, you know, Lee was the one that made the target before you and Rach. But can you explain where kind of Rach fitted into your kind of long-term game? Because it seemed like you guys wanted to stick together.
I would have loved to have seen Rach go further and to have had, you know, her and Chris and, you know, and ideally Doug and Ren in this, you know, very beginning. That was the alliance that I could see potentially forming. However, Ren, big game player, knows this show very, very well. And obviously they had their own agenda. So that was something I realized pretty quickly I couldn't rely on. Rach and Chris, I felt more confident that I could rely on. And with Rach, you know, the frustration is that, you know, for some reason, she and I had these targets. And again, I don't know exactly why she was targeted. I don't know why I was specifically targeted. Maybe it was because some people wanted a male alliance and felt that, you know, it would be a stronger tribe with men on it. But that is just unfortunately how it went. But it's a real shame because I think she's a really, really strong contender, and I think she could have done really well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, kind of moving forward, you were able to be the one to get past there. And you managed to make it to merge, which is an incredible achievement, obviously.
It's as a shock to you as it was to me, I'm sure.
No, I was like, I know Ashleigh's making it to merge. If you'd seen our cast assessment, I was like, Ashleigh, I'm keeping my eye on her. But merge anyway is an incredible achievement. It's such a special moment within Survivor each season. And this is where we really saw kind of you kind of pick yourself up and kind of put yourself in the forefront strategically, obviously from the show's editing. But that first merge tribal, you were put on. You were just blasted, and there's the meme. Like your game was put on blast. So when it came to that tribal, how were you feeling? Because did you know your name had become the counter name at that point as well?
Yeah, I did know. I think the thing is, obviously, everything's edited in a very specific way to obviously create the most entertaining version of the show possible. But of course, there's so much that happens that to build up to that. And I think probably, you know, going in, I was aware that, you know, Lee had been told. I knew that if he had been told that there was going to be some work to try and, you know, go against myself. Why me as opposed to Chris? I'll leave that to people's own views. But that is, you know, I knew going in that there was that my name, of course, was going to come up, because why wouldn't it? It has every other time. But I felt very confident that, you know, the people that I had aligned with and that I had built those relationships with, who said that they felt it was time for Lee to go. I felt that we had done the work to make that happen. So whilst it was obviously, it never is nice to see your name, but I did feel like it was Lee's time to go at that point.
Well, you managed to make the move, and you did that. And kind of as well, what we did see moving forward, and especially in these last two episodes, was your relationships with Tanuke and Leilani. That was a very big kind of talking point, especially in episode 10. And kind of, were you surprised when you kind of saw that you weren't able to heal after the fallout of the previous tribal council? Because there was a lot of damage control we saw you and Chris do. So were you surprised to see that you weren't able to kind of heal and mend those fences again?
I was disappointed. I was very disappointed because I had, you know, got on really, really well with Leilani and Tanuke, and really built, we'd built a good friendship and a good relationship over the, you know, relatively short amount of time we actually spent together. And we were all aligned on wanting to keep women in the game. We were all aligned on what it meant to build trust. However, you know, again, you can have a really great friendship with someone and you can get on really well, but everyone has a game plan and everyone is there to survive. So when I realized that we weren't going to be able to, when it wasn't going to be straightforward to mending that relationship, it made me feel that there was probably a different game plan going on that was happening outside of me that I wasn't privy to at that point. So I don't, whilst it was disappointing, because, you know, you want to trust those friendships. It's Survivor, and really, what does trust mean?
Yeah, that's very true. But at the end of the day, you survived and you played the game. So is there anything that, looking back, is there anything you're really proud of? Is there like a moment in the show that you kind of take away and go, that was my moment, that's what I'm proud of?
I mean, the fact that I was there was pretty amazing, to be honest. I never expected to be able to actually get on the show. So it was you know, actually being there was a real privilege and a really amazing experience. But I think the moment that, you know, weirdly was that last challenge, because I'm so, you know, that's something that was such a big fear for me, that really faced my fears doing that. And I was so proud to have achieved it. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from the whole show, is that I went into it probably as someone who was lacking a little self-belief and had a little imposter syndrome, and you know, maybe needed that experience, I think, to push myself and to say, yeah, actually, do you know what? Like, there are things that I can do that maybe I wouldn't have believed that I could before. So, you know, even being able to walk away from it now, I feel really, I think it was a really positive experience overall.
That's good. That's what we want. And the final question, it's the age-old question that we will always ask here. If asked, would you play again?
I mean, glutton for punishment over here, right? Who doesn't love a challenge? I wouldn't have gone on to the first place if I didn't like a challenge. So
who knows? Watch this space. Well, all I can say is you are now a member of the jury, and I'm excited to see how this season continues. But thank you so much for chatting with us. It was an absolute joy. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries.
See how it all plays out.